The quiet hum of the countryside, a deceptive lull, often cloaks the most volatile human dramas. In a world increasingly defined by economic precarity and shifting societal norms, the hearth, once a sanctuary, can become a battleground. This is the story of Hang, his wife, and the dramatic, emotionally charged return of his mother, a tale that lays bare the raw nerves of family obligation, betrayal, and the desperate search for home in an unforgiving landscape. The air itself seemed to crackle with an unspoken tension, a foreboding quiet before the storm. It was a day etched into the fabric of their lives, a moment when the past, with all its unresolved grievances, slammed into the present. Hang's mother, a woman whose presence had long been a source of contention, stood at the threshold of their modest home, her face a mask of weary resolve. "I'm coming back here to live with you," she declared, her voice carrying the weight of a decree. But this was no tender homecoming, it was an invasion, a desperate gambit fueled by recent loss and a lifetime of complex history. Her words, delivered with a chilling finality, immediately pierced the fragile peace Hang and his wife had painstakingly built. "You've scolded me and my children too much. Now I'm paying the price. I'll pay you back. I'll stay here. I won't let you stay." Hang's wife, her name not even uttered, became the immediate target of this emotional siege. Her response was instantaneous, a visceral rejection born of years of resentment. "Go. I'm not going anywhere. Go." The exchange was rapid fire, a volley of accusations and denials that ripped through the air like shrapnel. Hang, caught in the eye of this hurricane, could only offer a tentative, almost pleading invitation to his mother. "Mom, come live here." "Yes. Mom, come up here to stay with the kids." But the pleas fell on deaf ears. The mother, tired and resolute, dismissed them with a wave of her hand. "Don't talk too much, I'm very tired, I'm going to sleep." Her exhaustion, however, was clearly a strategic maneuver, a way to entrench herself, to signal her unwavering intent. "Go, go, go. I've decided to stay here. It'll be a long time before you chase me down to the garden." The underlying message was clear, she was here to stay, and she would not be moved. For Hang and his wife, life had always been a struggle, built on the steady rhythm of their small plot of land. Their days were defined by manual labor, the patient tending of crops like water spinach, a humble staple that provided their meager income. "Just cut the water spinach, okay, baby? There's a lot of it. Stand up and tie it. Let me cut it. Take this string and tie it. You have to cut it. Take it slow." These were the simple, almost ritualistic instructions that grounded their existence, a stark contrast to the emotional maelstrom unleashed by the mother's arrival. The act of harvesting, typically a moment of quiet cooperation, now felt heavy with unspoken tension, a desperate attempt to cling to normalcy amidst the chaos. The physical labor, the cutting and tying of the spinach, became a desperate anchor in a sea of familial discord. It was a poignant symbol of their hard-working, unassuming life, now threatened by an uninvited guest. The mother, despite her claims of exhaustion, was never truly passive. Her observations were sharp, her criticisms cutting. When Hang's wife offered the water spinach for sale, a small moment of pride in their hard work, the mother's presence cast a long shadow. "Do you want to cut it all? Cut it all off? I want to buy vegetables?" "Yes." "How much is it?" "Count it here." "So much." "Did you get so much?" "We grew it ourselves." "We grew it ourselves?" "Yes." "A lot?" 10 bunches? Right? 15 bunches. Let's go home." Her questions, seemingly innocuous, were laced with a passive aggression, a subtle diminishing of their efforts, a reminder of her own perceived superiority or, perhaps, her current desperation. This microaggression highlighted the deep-seated friction between them, An unspoken battle for dominance and respect. The weather mirrored the family's turmoil. It's raining a lot today. See the empty tree? You sit inside, it's more airy. It's raining too much. We can't do anything. Luckily, we can go up there to cut some spinach to sell, right? It's raining a lot today. Think again, should we go up to your house? The heavy rain, a physical manifestation of the emotional deluge, trapped them, forcing them into close quarters and amplifying the already suffocating atmosphere. The mother, despite her insistent claims on their home, seemed to dismiss its practicalities, complaining about the mud. But it's very dirty here. When it rains, this land is dirty, I can't stand it like this. It's too dirty for me. Her words were not just about the physical dirt, but a metaphorical disgust for their humble life, a life she now sought refuge in. She contrasted it with her own clean stilt house, a house she mysteriously no longer inhabited. It's clean upstairs, the stilt house is very clean, my child. See? Why are you so stubborn? It's up in your house, the stilt house is clean, but you don't live there. You always say you live here. This was a crucial hint, a crack in the mother's narrative, suggesting a deeper, unstated reason for her return. The daughter-in-law, though initially silent on this point, understood the subtext. Her frustration boiled over. What is dirty down here? It's too dirty for me to stand it. Are you planning to live here forever? Up above our house, there are fields and gardens, are they abandoned? That's not good. You should think carefully. What should we live here for? The land here is narrow. We can grow a few vegetables, so we can sell them. Up there, the garden is big, the house is clean, and it's easy to get around. The daughter-in-law's pragmatic view of life, centered on hard work and sustainability, clashed sharply with the mother's capricious desires. She tried to reason, to appeal to logic, highlighting the advantages of the mother's own presumably larger, cleaner home. It's easy to go make money. Besides, this is your home. So you plan to stay here forever? No way. You have to think again. But reason was a foreign language in this unfolding drama. The mother's mind was made up. The daughter-in-law's bitterness resurfaced, accusing the mother of abandoning her responsibilities. Just a little thing without me, you've been hiding here for 2 or 3 months now. You don't think about going home to do housework. You don't think about me, you think about others, or you think about your husband. The deep wounds of neglect and perceived favoritism came bubbling to the surface. She expressed concern for Hang, her husband, burdened by the long commute, implicitly blaming the mother for these hardships. Your husband has to go to work. I see that this road is very difficult to go to. I feel sorry for your husband. Why don't you know how to love him? My son-in-law loves you so much, but you just know how to stay and just want to be away from him. You're so stupid. You're my daughter. You don't listen to me. I'm very angry. The conflict was not just about space, but about status, respect, and the fundamental definition of family. The daughter-in-law, in a moment of raw honesty, hurled accusations about the mother's past behavior, revealing a painful history of being belittled. Your mother-in-law will sell that house and then it will be over. Where will you have a house to live? This is a small house and the space is very narrow, the garden is also narrow. We can't grow a few vegetables, just enough to sell for money to spend. The daughter-in-law's concerns were deeply practical, rooted in the precariousness of their economic situation. Their small house and garden, barely sufficient, represented their vulnerability, a vulnerability the mother seemed oblivious to, or simply disregarded. The mother, however, remained impervious to these appeals, her focus firmly on her own perceived comfort. Up in my house, this clean stilt house, this big garden, this pond around. Why don't you know how to stay a little bit and get angry until now? You're 30 years old. You're not a child, why do you have to listen to me? If you stay here all the time, if you want to come back tomorrow, it will be too late to regret. Your mother-in-law sold all the land. I won't say much more. Let's rest a bit and then cook rice to eat, my child. Are you and your mother home? Never mind. Right now, there's no place to stay. The truth of her situation began to fully emerge. She had nowhere else to go. The stilt house, once hers, was now a source of regret, not refuge. The oblique reference to her own mother-in-law selling land hinted at a complex web of familial property disputes and financial misfortune. The mother's desperation reached a peak, transforming into a stubborn, almost childlike defiance. I can't stay anywhere, so I'll just come back here to live with you and your mother. If you don't let me stay, I'll just lie here and see. I can do anything, so I won't let you stay in the house. I won't let my son stay either. Never mind. Wherever you guys are, I'll stay there. I'm already there. Mom will only say this much, okay? I won't say much. You think about it for a day or two. You have to follow me home, okay? Her words, a mix of pleading and veiled threat, left no room for negotiation. This wasn't a request, it was a non-negotiable demand. Her refusal to leave, her willingness to simply lie here and see, was a potent weapon in this domestic standoff, leveraging the emotional weight of a parent's helplessness. The daughter-in-law, exhausted but still refusing to yield, resorted to practicalities. Okay, I'll make a fire, Mom. Go pick vegetables to cook. But this momentary truce was shattered by another figure entering the fray, Hang's wife, her resolve renewed. Mother-in-law, what are you doing here? The daughter-in-law confronted her, her voice sharp, unforgiving. I'm coming back here to live with you. I won't let you stay anywhere. The house is too small. There's enough for the two of us to live. The daughter-in-law's rejection was absolute. She blamed the mother for her own predicament, for sowing discord with Hang. You won't let me? It's your fault. If you hadn't told my son, he wouldn't have chased me away. It's your fault that my son chased me away. I have to live with you now. The cycle of blame and counter-blame spun endlessly, each accusation a fresh wound. The daughter-in-law, however, refused to accept responsibility. It's not my fault. It's your fault. I'll just stay. I don't care. You won't let me stay anywhere. You won't let me? I'll just leave my things here. I'll stay here. The house is too small, there's enough for the two of us to live. Go live somewhere else. I won't go anywhere. I won't let you stay anywhere. I'm back here. I won't go anywhere. My house is small. I won't allow you to stay with me. The mother, unmoved, simply dumped her bags, planting her flag of occupation. The daughter-in-law, exasperated, pointed out the sheer lack of space. Go put your bag here. I won't let you stay anywhere. I won't let you stay here. My house is small, and the small house is only enough for the two of us. Go. There's still this side. What? This is the kitchen to cook rice. You can do whatever you want. I won't go anywhere either. I won't go anywhere. Your house is so big, why don't you know how to live? Why did you come here to live in our small house? I won't let you stay. The daughter-in-law's frustration was palpable. The mother's sudden embrace of their small house contradicted all her previous boasts, exposing the hypocrisy born of desperation. The irony was bitter. A woman who once scorned their humble dwelling now demanded sanctuary within it. The mother, corners pressed, finally revealed the deeper truth, albeit indirectly. I don't have a place to live. I have to come here to live. So your house is so big, why don't you stay? It's your fault. The small house is my house. You didn't say anything. Now I'm just living in my child's house. You said that if I stayed in your house, you'd kick me out to come here to live with you. This was a confession of homelessness, but still tinged with accusation. The daughter-in-law, however, was in no mood for pity. "Who told you not to live well, that no one would let you stay? I won't go back. This little bit of vegetables is not enough for the two of us to eat. I won't go home. Go. I won't go home, stay here. I'll sleep here. I'll sleep here. There. What can you do?" "So I won't let you stay anywhere." "What can you do?" "I won't let you stay." "If you don't let me stay, I'll stay. I won't let you stay. Now I've taken my clothes with me." The mother's tactics were clear, unwavering persistence. She would not be deterred by words, however harsh. Her bags, her clothes, were a physical manifestation of her intent. She asserted her right as the mother, her son's mother, a claim that resonated deeply within traditional cultural frameworks, even as it was weaponized against his wife. "Now wherever I go, I'll bring a change of clothes. I've told you. If you don't let me stay, I won't let you stay. You go home. I won't go. Go. I won't go anywhere. What can you do to me? I told you I wouldn't go. I'll sleep here. This is my house. My mother and I are not your house. Now I have to stay here with my daughter-in-law. That's my son's daughter-in-law's house. It's not your house. You're out there too." The daughter-in-law quickly refuted this, drawing clear boundaries. "Where's your new daughter-in-law? That's your new daughter-in-law. She's your daughter-in-law. This is my daughter. This house is the home of the two of us. You also go back to live with your daughter. My daughter-in-law's only. Isn't my daughter my daughter? You always say she's a new daughter-in-law." The mention of a new daughter-in-law hit a raw nerve, exposing a deeper layer of past betrayal and favoritism. This wasn't just about a place to sleep, it was about years of emotional wounds, of feeling second best, of being publicly scorned. The mother, however, seemed to revel in the perceived irony of her situation, juxtaposed against the daughter-in-law's past suffering. "You go with your new daughter-in-law to live. The new daughter-in-law now, I don't know where she went. Happy. I feel happy. I only know that my previous daughter-in-law only took one daughter-in-law, not many." "Then you always tell me that now I've married a new daughter-in-law and earned a lot of money. I'm very happy. So now that I'm happy, go with me. Go." The mother twisted the knife, reminding the daughter-in-law of her past boasting, her perceived affluence, and the new daughter-in-law who supposedly brought her wealth. This was the ultimate humiliation, the circle of status and misfortune coming full circle. The daughter-in-law, however, would not let these taunts go unanswered. "I'm very happy. Go with me. My daughter-in-law, my son's daughter-in-law. You have the right to chase me away. I don't have the right. This is my daughter. Now you only have the right to follow your new daughter-in-law. Then you go home and live. You don't let me stay, go live. This is my daughter. No, no, nothing. I'm staying here. I won't let you stay anywhere. Don't let me stay. I'll just stay. What can you do to me? If you don't let me stay, you won't let me stay. This is my daughter-in-law. My son is my son. Wherever my son is, I am still there. You are just following your daughter. You are just living off your daughter. That is my daughter-in-law. Where is my daughter? Am I not following? I am not like you. I live well. I do not live like you. You are only following your daughter. My daughter-in-law is my daughter. Your daughter-in-law is carrying a lot of money for you. Don't you know how to follow? The accusations grew more personal, the historical grievances escalating into a full-blown verbal assault. The daughter-in-law seized on the new daughter-in-law narrative, twisting it into an indictment of the mother's materialism and lack of loyalty. New daughter-in-law? No. That is the other one who came to visit her son. She is not a daughter-in-law. My daughter-in-law is here. So you always say that the new daughter-in-law knows how to make money, unlike this mute girl. You scold my daughter and say she is mute. You said this yourself. I am not allowed to say it. I was told, but you don't accept it? I am not allowed to say it. I only have one son and one daughter-in-law. The revelation of being called mute was a crushing blow, exposing the deep-seated cruelty that had defined their relationship. It was a vicious jab at her intelligence, her worth, a wound that had festered over time. This wasn't just a dispute, it was the painful excavation of the family's very past. The accusation of being called mute by her mother-in-law struck a chord of profound pain and anger within Hang's wife. It was a raw, visceral reminder of years of belittlement, of being seen as less than, incapable. This wasn't merely a verbal sparring match, it was the unfolding of a long festering wound. A few days ago you came here and bragged that my mother and I were poor and lived in a small house. It turns out that now you're back to find a small house to live in. I'm not allowed to say anything. That's my daughter-in-law. I love my daughter-in-law very much. You made that up. You say I made it up? You said it yourself. You think I forgot? You made it up. I'm not allowed to say anything. I'm not allowed to go back and brag about it. What's my daughter-in-law like? Now you're back to find a mute girl. Are you stupid? I've been saying it all this time. I've said this daughter-in-law is my daughter-in-law, and you're still saying you don't know. You say I'm stupid? I still have a house to live in. You're smart. Are you happy now? The daughter-in-law's words were a torrent of suppressed fury, each phrase designed to cut deep, to expose the mother's hypocrisy and her fall from grace. The mother, however, remained defensively steadfast, deflecting every accusation, twisting every truth. I always carry my bag and go to ask for other people's houses to live in, but they don't let me live in them. Are you happy? I don't go to ask for anyone's house. My daughter-in-law's house. My son. I raised my son when he got married, I had to come back to life. You always bragged about my son and me, saying that the house was big and spacious, I bought meat, and I had a lot of money. So why didn't you know how to stay and then come here and ask my son and me to live in a small house? The daughter-in-law pressed the attack, highlighting the stark contrast between the mother's past boasts of wealth and her current indigence. This clash was not just personal, it mirrored a wider societal tension between traditional expectations of filial piety and the harsh realities of economic downturns, where the idealized image of a prosperous elder often crumbles under the weight of unforeseen circumstances. The mother, desperate to justify her presence, appealed to the sacred bond of motherhood. What stupid things did you say? Won't I come back to my son? Won't I come back to live with my daughter-in-law? I took my daughter-in-law to support me when I'm old. I didn't take my daughter-in-law to act as a show. Now you know that too? You know how to follow your daughter-in-law. So before, you always scolded your daughter-in-law and scolded your son. Now that you've probably run out of options, you think again and tell me to follow your daughter-in-law. No matter what you say, I never scolded my son. Her words were a skillful deflection, attempting to rewrite history, to erase the painful memories of past insults and a son often caught in the crossfire. The daughter-in-law, having endured years of her mother-in-law's temperament, knew better. My son loves me like that. He loves me very much, right? You love him very much, right? When people love someone, they keep it in their hearts. They don't say it out loud. I don't want to look at your face. I also like looking at you very much. Because you're evil, you scold me. I don't scold you. I don't like looking either. If you don't like looking, then go away. I just came back because my son and daughter-in-law are here. If you don't like looking, then go away. I won't look at you. The conversation devolved into petty squabbling, a testament to the sheer exhaustion of enduring years of unresolved conflict. What are you standing here for? I hate it too. It's not that I like it. What are you standing here for? Me? If I don't want to look, then I won't come up here. Even if my children were somewhere, I wouldn't come up. If you don't like looking at me, then why are you coming back here? What are you saying is stupid? My son, my daughter-in-law, I won't come up? And you say that I won't come up? I'm stupid, but I didn't lose my home like you. You're really smart. But you don't have a place to live now. You have no place to live. This was the cruelest cut, the ultimate validation of the daughter-in-law's earlier accusations. The mother had lost her home. The mother, confronted with this stark reality, finally offered a partial explanation, shrouded in a desperate optimism. You thought I lost my home. I didn't. My son has caught that guy now. He's locked up in that house, in that police station. In a day or two, he'll come back to his parents and vomit out all the money for me. So what are you doing here now? What's the point of coming up here? I came up here, I only stayed for 2 or 3 days so that guy could vomit out the money. I'll go back. I won't stay long. This revelation of a scam, and the mother's belief in swift justice, painted a clearer picture of her predicament. It spoke to a common vulnerability in rapidly developing economies, the allure of quick wealth and the devastating consequences of financial deception. Public data often highlights the prevalence of such schemes, preying on those with limited financial literacy or a desperate hope for a better life. The mother, it seemed, was a victim of this very trap, a tragic figure caught between ambition and gullibility. However, her optimism was met with bitter sarcasm. You think I like coming up here? I don't like it either. I just had no choice but to come up. I'm here. You should be happy when you see me come up here. As for going back, catch a chicken and slaughter it to celebrate. Don't even think about me slaughtering a castrated chicken for you to eat. Go away and go home. The daughter-in-law's refusal to offer even a shred of comfort was absolute. The suggestion of a celebratory feast was twisted into a cruel joke, highlighting the vast chasm between the mother's expectations and the daughter-in-law's deep-seated resentment. The mother, now cornered, doubled down on her helplessness. I won't go back. Now that I'm back, I don't have a place to stay. Now I only come back here to live with my son and daughter-in-law. This is all I have. Now I have no place to go. I don't give you permission, I don't give you permission. This is none of your business. It's not your house. If it's not mine, then whose business is it? It's none of your business. This is what my mother and I did. My son did it. It wasn't you. The mother's desperate pleas were intertwined with attempts to delegitimize the daughter-in-law's authority, to claim the house as her son's, and thus, implicitly, hers. This assertion of ownership, despite her lack of contribution, was another point of contention, amplifying the daughter-in-law's sense of injustice. The argument circled back to the scam, the core of the mother's current predicament. What are you talking about? This is none of your business. Why did you do that? If it's not mine, then whose? You dare yell like that? My mother and I have the right. What mother? What mother? That's my son's job. You're really embarrassed. How embarrassing. Not ugly. I'm not ugly. A few days ago I pretended to show off that I had a little bit of money. Now it's a lot. Don't I have money? I'll have money again in a day or two. I'll just let you be smart. I'm stupid. I'll just let you be smart. Now that we've caught that brat, we'll have money anyway. You just go home and wait and find a big bag to put the money in. You think I'll wander around all my life? When you have money, you don't need me and your son. When you don't have money, you need him. The daughter-in-law's commentary on the mother's transactional relationship with her son was sharp and incisive, highlighting a pattern of behavior that prioritized wealth over family bonds. Why do you say that? My son, since he was a baby, I took him in and raised him. I raised him with all the money I had, loved him, gave him clothes, sent him to school. Now that I've married my daughter-in-law, wherever he is now, I'm there too. Now I don't have money. When I have money I still buy meat, fruit, and other things for it to eat. I never leave it alone. The mother's self-serving narrative of unwavering maternal love was immediately challenged by the daughter-in-law, who exposed the mother's actions during a critical time of need. I still bring home delicious food to feed it. But let me ask you this. Why didn't you let me sell the house when your son, who is also my son-in-law, needed money to take my daughter for artificial